Hello and welcome to my channel. I bought these four DS4 controllers. They are all original and they probably not work. I was checking them off and these two, they are okay. The only thing is these two. It connects, it turns on but does not connect. In this one it turns on but does not connect. So on the first two, all I had to do was press the share button and the PS button, like so, to put them on pairing mode, and they started working. So nothing wrong with them, except one of them has a bit of drift on the right stick, which we will address on this video. So they are good, only have these replacements for the thumbsticks. So let's take a look into these two. That this one turns on but does not connect, and this one does the same and also has these thumbsticks that are really not good. So let's start, and this also scrambles a little bit. Let's start with one of them and see what we can do. So let's start by plugging it in. I will plug it in to my computer to see if it shows up on the Gregman website that I will link if you wish on my description. And as you can see, it does turn on, but does not show up on the computer at all. Let's try the pairing mode, which does absolutely nothing. Yeah, it still has the same issue. It should start by charging once that is done, and it's not doing that. Let's try once more, and it does not start charging, and without the cable it just doesn't do anything. So let's start by opening this one up and see what is wrong. As most of the Dualshocks, this has 4 Phillips screws and some plastic clips that hold the two carcasses together. So we will remove all the 4 screws. And to separate the two offs, we just need to do a bit of pressure on the thumbs and it will eventually split up. As you can see over here, we need to be aware that this might pull back the R2 and L2 buttons, so we need to do a bit of pressure on there to remove this bottom carcass. We now disconnect the offs by removing the ribbon cable, and we disconnect the battery and take out this plastic bit where the battery rests. And let's then remove the touchpad so we can take a better look at the board. So now we connect the battery and see if it does anything without the other half. We need to have it on so we can see if the light blinks or not. Let's put it back and now plug it in and see what happens when we press the button. So it still blinks, and without the battery, does it do the same? It does do the same. So having a battery or not having a battery is exactly the same. And I'm feeling a lot of heat coming from this chip, which indicates that something is wrong with that area. So this might be the issue with this controller. I believe this chip is the IC controller, so it controls basically the functions of the remote, the controller, sorry. And yeah, we have an issue there. So let's try to take a look at that. As I do not have a thermal camera, I will use this old multimeter with the thermometer to check what temperature are we reaching on that chip, because it really burned my finger. So let's do the test now. So with the probe we need to put it on top of the chip. It's starting to raise now, and yeah, it's getting pretty hot. 50 degrees, it burns. It already burns. Let's turn it on. Still rising. It's getting close to 60 degrees. Oh, it did reach the 60 degrees. Yeah, this is pretty hot, so something is really wrong with this chip. 60 degrees Celsius and still rising. Yeah, definitely 65 degrees is way too much for a controller. So this chip most likely is toast. So let's see what kind of chip are we talking about. And this is a BD92001. Okay, so I need to check where I can purchase one of these and how much are they. But first let's do a shortcut test on the caps around it to see if any of those are shorted. None of them are shorted, so let's now test these diodes to see if they work or not. So they should work, do a reading on one way and no reading on the other way. And the reading should be somewhere between 0.3 and 0.6, which these at the moment are still showing. 0.3 or 0.6 ohms, I forgot to mention that. So yeah, everything seems to be correct with these diodes. So let's take out this little screw and see what's on the back of that chip. So it is the Bluetooth controller. So something might be wrong with this Bluetooth controller, who knows? Let's check the caps around it for shorts. And no shorts on these caps, so this should be okay. So I've read that this chip might heat a lot if the touchpad is not connected or poorly connected on the inside. So when the ribbon cable gets removed by some sort of accident, it starts heating up a lot. So let's take a look into the touchpad and see what we got inside. So this is glued, this white part is glued onto the black part, so we just need to pull carefully until it unglues, but we need to be aware that it may break the ribbon cable, so let's pull with a bit of care. And as you can see, this ribbon cable is glued on to the board, so it should not be an issue with that. Anyhow, let's see if there are any breaks on this ribbon cable by doing a continuity test between the first connection of the ribbon cable and the second connection of the ribbon cable. So everything seems to be connecting so far, so probably there's no issue with this touchpad. So we need to search for another problem, or just call it a day, and that chip needs to be replaced. As you can see on this plastic bit where the battery sits, the chip heated so much that it melted the plastic. So my guess would be that the person who owned this before connected it to a fast charging charger and it stopped working. Just to make sure, I have a non-working touchpad over here that I will connect to this board and see if the chip still heats up. So let's do that test before we say that there's no issue with the touchpad and the chip together. So yes, it still heats up when we just connect it. We don't even need to press the PS button. So let's just remove this so we don't break anything else further. So unfortunately for the moment I cannot fix this controller because I do not have a chip, and I was checking on AliExpress and these chips go for €5, so they are quite expensive. I will try to order one anyway. Moving on to a different controller, let's have it open and see what is going on with this one and why it does not connect. So let's see if the chip is heating up like the other one. We might have the same issue because they do exactly the same thing. And it is not heating up, so this is a good news. Let's try to turn it on to make sure. It's not even doing anything now, but the chip is also not heating, so something is not correct because it was lighting up before and now it is not. So let's remove the battery. Try again and nothing. Still no blinking. Oh, wait, there was a blinking light. Do we have a bad connection? Maybe we do. Maybe we do have a bad connection. Yeah, that's it. That's it. As you could see, it blinked when we moved the cable. Maybe we have just a bad port. Who knows? Let's do that. Let's check that. So let's remove this board and see what we can do. To remove the board, we just need to take 2 screws out and undo the glue that is gluing this board on the chassis. And here is the port. It does not seem to be damaged, but it does not look good either. Maybe the solder joints are not okay. Let's just quickly check. It doesn't seem to move, so they look solid at least. Well, let's connect it again and see if by moving it out of the chassis we can make it light up. I remind you that this cable is connected to my computer, so if it shows up it will immediately be listed on the Gregman website, and at the moment is not showing up at all. So luckily I had this from a different repair that I thought it was this board, but it was actually the IC controller as well, but on a different model that still had this board. So I ordered this and it was not the problem. Maybe it is on this one. Most likely is on this one, to be honest. So let's just remove the old one and put the new one to see if we have a living controller. Let's do the test now. Connecting the cable. And we have life. And it shows up on the computer, which is excellent. So we just have a bad board on this controller, which is quite a simple fix. I believe this should be a yellow light, but I'm not sure. And yes, it does show up and the buttons seem to be working. Let me just use the app there. And yes, it's showing up. The PS button is opening my dashboard on the MacBook. Let me just test the buttons quickly. And they do light up. Sorry for not showing the picture, but you have to trust me on this one. And yes, it seems to be working. So all this controller needed was a new board. Or maybe the old board just needs a new port, but I don't have ports to change, so let's just change the board and make it work. The chip is not heating up, so all seems good. So let's put this one back together. So now I will show you how to wash and properly clean these controllers. So basically you just need to tear it apart, remove all the electronics, use some fairy or dishwashing soap that you have available, some hot water, not very hot, but hot enough for you to have your hands inside. And then we need to scrub every little bit that we have inside this container. Once done scrubbing, we will put everything on a fiber cloth, microfiber cloth, and dry it out and put it on the sun a little bit so it can dry out the spots where the microfiber cloth does not reach. In the meantime, while it's drying out, we will clean with IPA the remain of this, the electronics basically of this controller. So we'll go through with IPA throughout all the board and the plastic bits. Just avoid doing the IPA on this ribbon cable where the buttons press, because it may take away the carbon and then it stops working. So just use the IPA around the board and the plastic bits. If you have any stickers like I do over here, just remove them with your finger. Then with a cotton swab with IPA, just remove the remains of glue and you should be good to go. So this one still has drift. This is one of the working ones that I managed to make work with the share and PS button. And now we will fix this drift issue. So instead of removing the whole joystick, I will just remove the potentiometer that is doing the issue, which is the one that controls the top and bottom. So I will add new solder to all of these, remove the old solder and put new solder on, at least on this top one, to make sure it is connecting properly and does not have dry solder joints. And we'll remove the solder completely from the one that does the top and bottom, which is the side one, not the top one where I'm working at the moment, and replace it with a potentiometer from an unrepairable controller that I have laying around. So to do this, we use a bit of flux, hot iron and this solder sucker to remove the solder from these points. This may take a few tries and may take a while because there are always remains of solder that stay on, so keep on doing it until you have it completely clean. We will now undo the rumble motors so we can remove the board to take out this potentiometer. And now we will go with a bit of wick to remove the remains of solder that we still have on the pads, so we can more easily remove this potentiometer. So this is the hard part where we need to pull and use the iron at the same time in order to remove this potentiometer. It just unclips from the body of the joystick, so keep on doing that until we have it fully removed. So here I'll just show you why is this doing drift. So this is a copper, let's say, contact that scrubs on a carbon pad, and this carbon pad is over here, and it transmits the coordinates to the system, and as you can see it's completely worn out where it rubs. This is why it does the drift it starts sending different coordinates to the system of the Dualshock. This is the potentiometer that I will harvest from a different controller, and it's exactly the same model. So let's just remove this and put it on our working controller. I have already removed it, so basically now we just need to insert it on the pads. We need to pull a little bit hard on it until it clips in, and then we put solder on the little holes to fill in the gaps on the pads. Make sure to connect it with gently until it clips in, so it's properly connected on the joystick. As you can see, it's now moving, but we still need to press it a little harder, just like so. Until you hear it clip, don't stop pressing. And now it clipped in. Let's now finish the job by soldering it back on. So let's use a bit of flux, hot iron and solder, and let's go. We now put it back together and test to see if we still have drift or if the drift is completely gone. So we have a connection and it's showing on the computer already. And it is okay. I'll show you now on the computer. Just a second. And as you can see, the left one was all over the place before, and now it's very okay. As you can see, no drift at all. And it centers right up. So we fixed this controller just by removing a little part that is nearly 10 cents. And if you have a controller where you can harvest parts from, it's free. Now that we know it is working, let's put new caps on the joysticks to make it look brand new. So we'll put it back together and go on to the next controller. So this is the restoration part. So these are the parts that I've put on the sun to dry out a little bit, and now I'll just leave you with some music while I put this back together. This plastic bit where we put the battery on adds a pole that was broken, so let's just glue it with super glue so it doesn't wobble around when we move the controller, or if it falls on the ground. The battery needs to be properly seated, so we will glue this little pole. The other one, I have no idea where it went, but it was not here, so let's at least do this one. So now that we have all the controllers back together, this is the one that I could not fix because it needs a new chip, I believe. I will try to order one. Unfortunately, this was a no fix. This one, we had drift, we fixed the drift, it's now okay. So we need to remove this sticker. It no longer has a problem and it works fine. So we'll take this off. And this other one is also good, so we need to take off this sticker as well. And there it is. We had 4 controllers that were not working. Now we have 3 controllers working. One needed a potentiometer as well, the other one a charging board, and one of them just didn't need anything. So if you enjoyed the video, leave me a like, subscribe the channel, and I will see you on the next video.